Did great. Man, you're just coming out of that shell of shyness, right? Yeah, let me.
I don't know why they always put two in there.
Well, it's usually for me to put my stuff on, but tonight we don't have to. Got a few minutes here. We've shifted my schedule around a little bit more to where I have a little more time in the beginning, a little less time at the end, and so I want to cover a couple of things here. I wanted to read a quote. Except I had marked it. There it is. There it is. All right, and this is from Joseph Campbell. He said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. One more time. The cave you fear to enter. What does that mean? Anybody have any ideas? Where are you afraid to go? Anywhere new. Okay. All right. And so if we don't go into anything new, then we continue to get what we've always got. Right? And that almost sounds like Einstein's quote, insanity, right? And so, the cave you fear to enter. So I wonder what that means. That means we need to go ahead and reverse our desire of trying to be safe and go ahead and deal with what may or may not be in the cave, because what we're looking for, the answers, are there, according to Joseph Campbell. And I think that's pretty much the way it's been in a lot of our lives, right? The thing that I don't want to do really is the thing that will help me the most, right? Has anybody found that out to be true? Everybody's afraid to answer that one, okay? I understand. And so I didn't know if I was going to read this one or not, but I'm going to go ahead, and this is from Nietzsche. And some pronounce his name Nietzsche, so whichever you prefer, that's okay with me. Whoever fights the monster should see to it that in the process he does not become the monster. I'm not done with the quote yet, but I was pausing to let you ponder that a little bit. In fact, I think I'll back up and start all over. How about that? Whoever fights the monster shall see to it that in the process he does not become the monster. And if you gaze long enough into the abyss will gaze back into you. Do what? You heard that one? So the first part of that is, it's the what? Deep, yeah. Yeah, and that is, if we're going to fight the monster, we got to be careful that we don't become that monster. And we have seen that and done that, right? And maybe not anybody in this room, but you know somebody that's done that, right? I always like to say that to let you off the hook. So, and so what does this mean about gazing deep enough into the abyss? That means when we go ahead and choose to look in to these dark places, shadow parts of our being, okay, according to Carl Jung, and that when we choose to look into this abyss, it is kind of like looking into a mirror. We see, our perspective, we see what we see because it's in me, right? The enemy is in me. And that dealing with it, we have to recognize it. And again, this is a common theme. We have to recognize it so that we can deal with it. And if we avoid going ahead and stepping into those difficult places, then we don't give ourselves an opportunity to deal with that stuff. Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you what. This isn't the Bible, but this is from Martin Luther King. And he says, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Okay? Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. All right? Martin Luther King. And so, if we walk in the light as he is in the light, then we will manifest that light to others, and that affects not only ourselves, but everybody around us. Now, that's what we want to do. I believe that's what we really want to do. The trouble is, things get in our way, right? We get mentally, emotionally sidetracked. Here's this one. I had this thought. A lot of times we have an emotional uprising that picks us up and carries us away. Anybody, somebody that lives that way? Yes. And then we say, why do I act this way? And the reason why is because we have practiced that in a conscious way, and now it's in our unconsciousness, and now, remember what we talked about earlier, that stuff then grabs a hold of us because we're overwhelmed. And neuroscience says that it shuts, when you get overwhelmed, your amygdala kicks in, it shuts down the logical part of your brain, and then you're just in your defense mechanism, and your defense mechanism is what you have practiced the most to try to keep you safe, which may or may not work, right, in the past, but at least you thought it did, and it's convinced that if it worked then it must work now. Whether that's true or not, and the rest of the story, probably it's not. And so what we have to do is we need to look at that stuff. Now I know this is kind of a deeper thought, and you say, well, I don't want to deal with the painful stuff, and you don't have to. But that's what put us in the place that we're in, not dealing with it. Okay. Yes, maybe when you were younger, that was your only mechanism to survive, and we're glad you survived. The only trouble is, as Abraham Maslow said, if you think if the only tool you have is a hammer, then you think every problem is the same. It's all nails. Okay, it's just a nail. And the trouble is, when you were younger, you maybe learned a particular tool. In this instance, we're talking about hammers. But a hammer doesn't fix every problem. Correct or incorrect? Okay? Disappearing in a conflict doesn't fix every conflict. Going ballistic and going into a rage to push them back does not fix or resolve every conflict. And you notice that oftentimes that he's kidding, but a lot of times we think that people are doing that to us, right? What do they call that? Do what? Paranoia, being paranoid, or it could be schizophrenia. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so we can do that. I had somebody talking with me last week. I think it was last week or a week before. They were convinced that everybody was thinking this about them. Now, we all know that everybody is everybody everywhere, and that's not even possible, right? Okay? And even those that she was talking about didn't really, we don't know whether they were thinking that or not. But I know who was thinking it. She was, right? Just like the little funny that Zach was talking about, he's looking at me. He knows my stuff. And if I was going to say something to somebody, normally I always try, as best I can, is not to look at them. Okay? Yeah. And because we're all paranoid enough, I don't need to add to it, right? But I do try to scan everybody because I think it's important to make connection with you. Did you have a question? Okay, all right. I thought maybe we had a power-packed question coming out there. Does anybody have any questions? Zach's hand was flinching. I don't know if that was just a nervous reaction. I was looking at you too. Oh, okay, yeah.
I was thinking about something.
Okay. All right.
I used to have to sign in my office when I had an office, but that's a different story.
He's just trying not to make eye contact with me.
Yeah.
It said, I got it because I used to be that when I'm joking, because I used to be that real bad. Really paranoid, and I used to think everybody was thinking about me. And the sign basically said something to the effect of, don't worry about what everybody else is thinking. They seldom think of you. And it's kind of a jab, but the truth is that how often did I think that somebody was thinking bad things about me and I was not even on their mind? And I think that we do that for ourselves a lot. That's like you said, we feel bad about ourselves, so everybody else must feel bad about us too. Or I'm mad at myself for that, so therefore they must be mad at me too. And they may not even be on their radar.
And that's so true. And that's the reason why in my earlier session I was talking about loving yourself and forgiving yourself. It's so important. Yes, sir.
That would be good to repeat for Facebook.
That would be. Well, I think the abbreviated version of that is that people are... I'm going to be talking tomorrow night at church in Fellowship Hall. I'm going to be talking about anxiety in the heart of a man weights them down, and so, but this load that we carry. Excuse me. All right, that'd be great. It's about. I think they have me going like 7. It'll only be about 30 minutes. That's my plan, is just go 30 minutes. It'll be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in the Fellowship Hall. It starts at 6. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm better. I'll be better there than I am here. Let me get back. I got 2 or 3 minutes left here. So the synopsis is that we carry around this punk in our head that we talked about last week. We carry around this punk in our head telling us what everybody else is thinking of us. And they don't have a clue. They may not even know you. I've talked with people, I said, do you know what people are thinking about you that's across the street? Yes, I know what they're thinking of me. And they never even met them, but they know what they're thinking, right? And so we carry this around. It's what we're saying to ourselves. And that's a reason why we really need to look at what we're saying or thinking. Does that make sense? Now, I wanted to close with this and see, because some of the recent neuroscience, they discovered in 1980 or a little after that the heart has a lot more power in it than they thought. As far as it creates a magnetic electricity that affects your brain, your brain and your body, and that it actually produces, when you're in gratefulness and gratitude, it actually produces peptides that work against stress. Okay? And a minute of gratefulness